Welcome to the question and answer session for the Call to Artists for Public Art at Engine 17. As a reminder, we are recording this session. We have interpretation available in Spanish, Vietnamese, and Haitian Creole. You can access interpretation by clicking the interpretation icon in your meeting controls toolbar, and then selecting the language you'd like to hear. We also have live captioning, and you can turn those on and off by clicking the CC bar icon in your toolbar. We're going to pause for a minute so that the interpreters can invite people to join them on their channels. Let's start with Spanish, then Haitian Creole, then Vietnamese.
Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos a la llamada a los artistas Engine 17. Y esta es una sesión de preguntas y respuestas de arte público. Vamos a ofrecer interpretación al español, entre otros, y para seleccionar el idioma de su preferencia les pedimos que en la parte inferior de sus pantallas acudan al globito en unos momentos cuando ya terminen todos los intérpretes de hacer su anuncio. Van a ver un globito y van a oprimir ahí y va a decir Interpretation. Si están desde un dispositivo y ven solamente 3 puntitos, por favor primero opriman los 3 puntitos, después van a ver el idioma y después van a escoger español y finalizar o OK. Y también vamos a ofrecer subtítulos, así que para eso nada más tienen que oprimir las CC en la parte inferior de su pantalla para tener el acceso a los subtítulos. Esos van a ser en inglés. Muchas gracias.
Bonsoir, bienvenue dans réunion que nous gagnons à soir qui pour appel pour artistes en Engine 17 côté que même vous pouvez répondre question pour artisans publics avec réponse pour session ainsi que même ta remet ou bien ta remet participer ou bien tant des réunions sans créole ou parler en bas écran ou un symbole qui semble un monde ou cliquer sur lui pour sélectionner langue. Et puis, de là, ou même, on parle dans chambre, côté que il y a un monde qui parle créole, qui a interprété pour exactement ça qui peut dire dans la réunion. Si que même on t'a vraiment ouais exactement ça que y a dit en anglais, il y a bien l'a écrit sur écran, côté que lui même l'a dicté exactement ça que y a dit en anglais. Les quoi aller en bas écran ou après ti kon qui dit CC, c'est façon ça que ou même ou capable choisir pour que mon carré titre ou bien mot qui sous écran. Merci le fait que vous avez participé avec nous à soir. Passons bonne nuit.
Vâng ạ, xin kính chào quý vị đã tham dự cùng với chúng tôi trong cái buổi kêu gọi đến các nghệ sĩ tham dự vào chương trình nghệ thuật công chúng Engine số 17 và cũng như trả lời các câu hỏi của quý vị. Chương trình của chúng ta được phiên dịch song song ra các thứ tiếng bao gồm tiếng Anh, tiếng Haiti và tiếng Việt. Quý vị có thể chọn ngôn ngữ mà mình muốn nghe bằng cách chọn vào biểu tượng hoặc địa cầu có nút phiên dịch ở dưới thanh công cụ và chọn một ngôn ngữ mình muốn nghe. Đồng thời chúng ta cũng có thể chọn tùy chọn tắt audio nguồn để cho chúng ta có thể nghe được phần phiên dịch. Chương trình của chúng ta sẽ được bắt đầu trong ít phút ạ. Xin quý vị hãy nán lại. Xin cảm ơn.
And now I'd love to introduce myself. I'm Karen Goodfellow. I'm the Director of Public Art in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. And I'd like to introduce my colleagues. So I'll also mention I use the she, her, and hers pronouns. And I will pass to my colleague, Sarah Rodrigo.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Rodrigo, and I'm the Senior Public Art Project Manager for the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, and I use the She series. And I'll pass it to Christina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina McGeehan, and I'm the Communications Director for the Office of Arts and Culture, and I also use the She series.
Our plan for today is to review the call and the submittable application form, then answer any questions you may have about the call. We'll do our best to answer your questions today, but we may also note them and respond in an FAQ that will be posted by January 21st. We'll also be sharing links in the chat as we go. Please feel free to post questions in the chat or the Q&A as we go along, and we will get to them at the end. We want to start by providing some context for today's presentation and conversation. The City of Boston has done a lot of work related to public art for the past decade, including updated our public art policies and procedures, redefining our understanding of what public art is and could be, and examining the gaps in the city's public art landscape. In the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, we have commissioned artists to create many new public art projects in the last several years, and there are more projects in the pipeline. Many of our public art projects are what we call long-term commissions, meaning the resulting artwork should last 5 years or more. The photos on this page are all of long-term commissions by the City of Boston, meaning the resulting art, in clockwise from the left, we'll see Together by Ms. Akar at the Engagement Center in Newmarket, installed in the fall of 2021. With and Web by Matthew Hintzman at the JP branch of the BPL in Curtis Hall, BCYF campus in Jamaica Plain, installed in the summer of 2021. An artwork Untitled by Joe Wardwell and Nakia Hill and the 826 YLab writers at the Roxbury branch of the BPL in Nubian Square. Installation completed this month. Love Thyself by Marco 27 in Grove Hall in Dorchester, installed in 2018. Crisscross Signal Spire by Meejin Yoon in Nubian Square in Roxbury, installed in 2014. I Love You by Alex at the Engagement Center in Newmarket, installed in the fall of 2021. Like the projects on the previous slide, the call to artists we have out right now is for a long-term public art project. We're looking for an artist to create an artwork for the new Engine 17 Ladder 7 fire station in Dorchester, which is currently under construction. Sarah will now walk through the call page by page, share some information about the application process, and then take questions. If you want to follow along in the PDF itself, you can view and download it at this link. We should be in the chat. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Karen. On this page, you can see the title page and the table of contents for the call. So let's dive in to that content. The first content page contains the basic information. The first content page contains the basic information about both the call to artists and for the project itself, like the budget, eligibility, and the location. An outline of the call to artist schedule is here for your reference, and you can see that page on the left, including the date and time of this session, the day we'll be posting answers to questions, which is tomorrow, and the day the call closes, which is next Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I strongly encourage any artists who are applying to complete their submission before that deadline, as Submittable can get a little overwhelmed by a large number of submissions at the same time, and we can't accept applications once the call closes. This call is open to all artists. We have no geographic limitations for this call, but there is a preference for artists who have a connection to Dorchester and/or firefighting. The next page, which you see on the right-hand side of the screen, contains information about Dorchester, the neighborhood where the firehouse will be located. We include this information because our commissions are site-specific, and while we don't expect anyone to be experts in the site at this point, it's helpful if you've given some thought to the site context and the people who are involved with the project. The next page in the call shares highlights about the firehouse and the building project itself. The new design is by Ann Beha Architects, and the project is being managed by the Public Facilities Department. Later in the call, we share some additional links if you're interested in reading more. On the right side, we've highlighted the site for the artwork. It's a 2-story entrance to the building, primarily glass, and very visible from the street. The entrance itself will not always be publicly accessible, as the firefighters live there during their shifts. So we are looking to commission an artwork that can be enjoyed and appreciated when viewed from outside the building. Excuse me. On the next page, you can see more renderings of the new firehouse, courtesy of Ann Beha Architects. In PDF, the plan view is more visible. You can see that at the bottom. And there's a couple different angles of the new building shown. On page 7, shown on the right, we outline the commissioning process. We are now in step 2. The call is open and we're answering questions. Once the call closes, step 3 begins, when we convene an artist review working group to review artist submissions and select finalists. Those finalists may be asked to interview virtually, and then the working group will recommend an artist to the Boston Art Commission, also known as the BAC. The BAC will review and vote on that recommendation, and if the artist is approved, we'll contract with them for the project. Page 8, which you see on the left, details the overall schedule for the commission. This particular commission has a compressed timeline. The firehouse is scheduled to open later this year, and our goal is to have an artwork in place for the opening. The next 2 pages of the call, the first of which you can see on the right, detail what materials you need to apply to this commission. These details are also included in the submittable application that we'll review in a moment. But we hope that you can use this list to gather your materials before you begin your submittable application. As is typical for our calls to artists, we ask for an artist description, which can be a resume, biography, or other summary of your professional experience, 10 images of completed projects, an annotated image list providing information about those projects, and a statement of interest and initial project concept. We do not ask for any design work or visual proposals at this stage, but instead want you to provide a written description of your possible approach or concept for the commission, given the information provided in this call. The last 2 items that you will need to submit are listed on the left: a budget for the project and a diversity and inclusion plan. We provide a sample budget template in the call itself, which you'll see on the next slide. For the diversity and inclusion plan, we ask that you describe your practice when hiring subcontractors and how you'll ensure that you're keeping your process open to small local businesses and women, minority, and/or veteran-owned businesses. If you don't think you'll use subcontractors for the project, tell us what you've done in this regard on other projects over the past 2 years. Specific examples are really helpful here. On the next page, which you see on the right, are the links I mentioned a few slides back. You can read more about our office, the BAC, our colleagues in facilities, the fire department, and find links to the call PDF and submittable application. The last page of the call includes my contact information and information about when and where we'll post answers to any questions we receive, either tonight through email or through the web form. Today is the question deadline, so please don't be shy about speaking up or putting questions in the chat. We've also included in the call the budget template as an appendix, and you can see an image of it on the right. In this template, we included typical categories like engineering, installation, administration, insurance, an artist fee, but you should make changes that align with your own practice and approach to projects. Please note that the total cannot exceed the budget for the project, which is $200,000. As I've mentioned a few times, you have to apply through the submittable platform online. This is a screenshot of the application page, and I'm going to change screens now so that we can walk through the submittable application. I hope everyone can see that. So this is the landing page for the call to artists submittable application. At the top, you see some of that kind of basic information that we included on the first page of the call. And as you scroll down, you get to the application itself. We ask the artist submit their first name, last name, company name, if it's applicable, a mailing address, your phone number, an email address where we can contact you, a website if you have one. And we also have demographic categories that we ask everyone to fill out, if you are open to that. And then we get to the artist description, where you will attach files, the statement of interest and initial project concept, which is a text box. So I recommend drafting one in Word or another word processing program and copying and pasting it here. There is a limit of 500 words. Then you can upload 10 files of work samples, images, or videos, an annotated image list, and finally, a budget. If you need to go back and change things, you can always save your draft. And once everything is complete, hit submit. And once again, I'm going to encourage everybody to do this before the deadline. We're going to switch back to our other presentation and see if we have any questions. Christina, do you see any questions?
No, I haven't seen anything come in yet.
Right. Well, we'll hang on for another couple minutes to see if anyone's typing anything into the chat or into the Q&A.
Does not look like we're getting any questions from the people who are in attendance right now. But just as a reminder for anyone who is here and for anyone who might be watching a recording of this later, we will be posting answers to any questions we have gotten online. So even if you haven't submitted one, we'll be posting them. Sarah, those going up tomorrow? Yeah, so I know we got at least one, right? Or
We did. We have actually a few to post tomorrow, and the link to that is in the submittable and on our website, where I think we've posted that link as well. Yep. So people can always check there. Oh, we do have a question. Would you please elaborate on preferred materials? I don't know, Karen, if you wanted to answer that. I will say that because of the need for this artwork to be experienced from the exterior, even more so than from the interior, and yet be an interior work as it's mounted. It will likely be mounted in the entranceway. We have been thinking about sort of materials that lend themselves to that type of experience. So glass is obviously an option, or similar approaches, but that's about as I think as specific as I would want to get. Artists are artists. There's always novel and interesting solutions that we haven't thought of, and that's why we hire artists for these projects. So I encourage people to apply, regardless of our potentially preferred materials.
Yeah, so I'll just add that we're always thinking about durability, of course, in materials, and materials that are appropriate for the site. But we really look to artists to look at the project and determine if they think that the work that they do might work. So if you have a practice that you think could be a good fit for this project, we still encourage you to apply, because maybe our review committee will be really inspired but with what you put forward, and be convinced that this is a project that could work. But obviously these are long-term projects for us. We have cold northern winters here. We care about ease of maintenance and public safety, of course, but we're looking for really beautiful, engaging projects, and that is what we're excited for you to help us imagine.
On a related note, one of the questions we did get via email, which I'll share, we'll be posting tomorrow, the answer to it, was who will be maintaining this work after installation? And that would be our office. We have an art collections manager. Once the artwork is completed, it will be accessioned by the Boston Art Commission, and our office will be responsible for the care and maintenance of the work long term. I'm not seeing any additional questions. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, well, thank you all for being here tonight. We're really excited about this project. And we think the theme is really fun. I see that there's a question that just came in. Will there be any opportunity to get invoked with the materials at the point of manufacture for cost and for cost effectiveness involved? Sorry, so go ahead.
If I'm going to interpret this a little bit, I think that what Reed Sparrow may be asking is about the materials for the building itself, and getting involved with them during the ordering process. Yeah, unfortunately, because of the point in that we're at with the construction of the building, that's very unlikely for this project. This design is really far along and construction has begun. So it's quite unlikely that we'd be able to have that type of opportunity here, although we do sometimes have that with other calls. So keep an eye out. The target opening date is later this year. It's early fall at this point. I will say that we want to be realistic. I think we've all experienced in the last 2 years that schedules can really change, and especially with supply chain, there are still concerns with that. So that is the target, and we're hoping to meet it. And I think facilities very much would like to meet it. And the fire department is excited about their new firehouse and would like to meet it. But that's our target. I'm hedging a little bit because it has been such an incredible, we've all needed to be very flexible this last couple of years with construction. So opening of the building, or when we start working and installing, is later this year, the fully finished timeline. Well, that's a good question. I think that would depend on an individual artist's timeline for installations. And yes, thank you, Frank. We are thinking of September for installation. Typically, the art projects are going to be last in. So we don't want to install an artwork in the middle of construction and then have to clean it or worry about damage to it during other phases of construction. So we're looking at September. That's what's in the call, and that's what we're asking artists to consider, which again is a compressed timeline. Karen, would you add anything to that?
Nothing, just that our timelines are aspirational. And as Sarah said, we're in an unusual time and we understand that there are delays and different needs, and we're sharing what our ideal situation would be, but we want to be straightforward that there might be delays on our side. We understand that there may be delays on the artist side as well going forward.
All right, so Frank also asked if we can speak to the insurance requirements briefly. We do require that artists have general liability insurance, a policy of $1 million. In terms of other insurance, it depends on the individual artist. If you have employees, we need you to have a workman's comp policy. If you're going to use your car to bring materials to the site, we may need to see your auto insurance. Different projects will carry different potential insurance needs, but the baseline is just a general liability policy, which is pretty standard. I believe the insurance requirements are one of the appendixes at the end of the call, along with a sample commissioning agreement. We have a couple, I'll just talk about contracting real quickly. Frank, if you don't mind, I'm gonna just use your question as a springboard. The commissioned artist will need to sign the city contract, the CM 10-11, which is non-negotiable, but we have a commissioning agreement, which is attached to that contract and which is essentially an artist's contract. So, although we call it an agreement, and that outlines all of the copyright, that outlines the project schedule, the payments, everybody's roles and responsibilities. And we've included a sample version of that agreement, which is negotiable, to the call. So I do encourage artists to look through that and get a little bit familiar with our legal requirements as well, and understand that you will have to sign a city contract that is just a very standard thing. So Reed is asking, can we work on site or in the neighborhood in some quasi studio method to engage more authentically? We would absolutely encourage that. We hope that whatever artist is commissioned for this will really engage with the community, both with the firefighters, but also with the surrounding community. This particular firehouse has a lot of connections in the community. There's an elementary school immediately adjacent. And we should mention this firehouse has been there for a long time. This is in the call. They're getting a new building that is being built right next to the old building. So they have a very deep history and a lot of engagement at this site. And we hope that the artist is able to participate in that and get out into the community and really reflect all of the people that are in and around this firehouse. These are great questions. Thank you all. Can we use work in the building or have dedicated space at the school? I imagine insurance we supply should cover that and the materials. I think the building itself, the existing firehouse, is active while they're building, and the new one will be under construction. I don't know what might be available in the neighborhood. That's a really interesting question. I think we may have to think about that and post an answer to that tomorrow. And Frank is mentioning that this is a very historic site in the city, and I just want to elevate that because it is. It's an incredibly historic neighborhood. And a lot of Boston is, but this neighborhood in particular. And Rita's saying thank you, and you're welcome. We're really excited about this call.
And just a reminder to anyone who may have joined late, we will be posting a recording of this online.
I'll also say that while content questions like these that we've been talking about, the deadline is today, we'll be posting answers tomorrow. But if there are questions about the submittable application, technical issues that you're having, people can always reach out all next week. Don't hesitate if you are having problems with uploads to work that out as soon as possible.
And I'll reiterate, I know we made this, suggestion before, but please submit early in case you have any technical difficulties. If you miss the deadline, we won't be able to help you. But if you try a few days in advance, we can help work anything out that you may encounter.
Right, I am not seeing any more questions. Oh, yes, I see one now in the Q&A from Catherine. If I'm not from Dorchester, will I not be eligible? You're absolutely eligible. This call, the eligibility, has no geographic restrictions, but there will be a preference for people who have a connection to Dorchester, to firefighting, to the themes of the project. I'm going to give everyone another minute just in case there's any other questions. All right, I think that's all. If nobody has any other questions.
Going once. Okay, great. Thank you all for coming tonight.